profesors no Ukrainas Olegs Kristals. Viņš jau arī ir Zoomā, mums jau kopā saslēdzies. Un visu šo pasākumu vadīs un arī organizēs un man palīdzēs ļoti jauka māksliniece no Ukrainas, Veronika Čekaļuka, kura pie manis atbrauca pagājušajā nedēļā, un mēs daudz runājām par grāmatām, un par grāmatām gan ukraiņu valodā, gan arī latviešu valodā, un mēs esam arī izdevniecība Jānis Roze ir izdevusi ukraiņu autoru grāmatas latviešu valodā. Tā kā es domāju, ka mūsu draudzība ir sākusies, un mēs visi varam par to būt ļoti, ļoti priecīgi. Nu tā, un mūsu tās saruna valodas droši vien arī būs ļoti internacionāli. Es sāku latviešu valodā, Veronika runās ukraiņu valodā, profesors runās angļu valodā, bet arī būs Jūlijas Sakarčuks arī. Tā kā es domāju, ka mēs sapratīsim visu un, kā sakam, начинаем, ja?
Дякую, Ілзе. У нас є вітання від надзвичайного та повноважного посла Латвії в Україні Ілоса Клява. І також у нас є вітання від Посольства України в Латвії. І ми запрошуємо до слова радника Посольства України в Латвії Захарчук Юрія. Будь ласка, пане Юрію.
I will be very brief about that. Of course, the Embassy of Ukraine, the Ukrainian side does welcome the initiative. We would like to thank the bookstore Yanis for this initiative. Of course, the author, Mr. Krishtal, for the initiative to have this charity event and donations for Ukrainians in this horrible situation that Ukraine has found itself in through these 45 days. Now I think these initiatives all around the world are very important, and in Latvia specifically we have seen nothing but support and assistance and help and compassion and commiseration with the people of Ukraine through all of these days of war, and even earlier before the beginning of war. The Latvian people have been outstanding in giving all kinds of support, material support, humanitarian aid, receiving our refugees from Ukraine who had to flee the conflict and seek shelter outside of Ukraine. So this will be another contributing step in this endeavor to help Ukraine fight off the Russian invaders. And I wish that I have been informed that there will be 50 books sold for charity within the framework of this event. I wish that there is demand for at least twice as much in Latvia, or even more, that the book finds its reader and it will be interesting for the Latvian public. Thank you.
Дякуємо пане Юрію. І у нас, якщо дозволите, Олег Олександрович, надамо вам слово, а потім у нас є вітання від ваших колег і також від університету. Ми зараз вам слово, а потім наступний спікер.
So I speak English, okay? It's as the advisor of the embassy has mentioned, we are just experiencing really hard times. I mean, Ukrainian state, but we have good friends, and the country in which with which I'm now contacting, and real friends are reveal themselves in difficult situations. So our situation is difficult, and Latvia is our really good friends. So thank you very much for that.
І Олег Олександрович дарує
Now,
квіти на цій ноті.
what?
Це квіти від вас, Олег Олександрович.
Okay, sure. It's our flag, yeah, our national colors. What I'm going to present, which type of book it is. I am a career scientist, and you may open Google and find easily that I am a scientist with the international reputation, which is definitely good. So I can say I am a world-known neuroscientist. But now I face you as a writer. What happened? How did I come to becoming a writer? Actually, at the end of my scientific career. You may see me that I am quite grown up, to say the least. Yeah. So I wrote 2 books in my life only. Although I wanted to be the writer still in the childhood, but my parents told me at those times, it was Soviet Union, and so my parents told me that they gave me life not to become a liar in this life. And if I will become a writer in the time of communism, I will definitely become a liar without any choice. So I became a scientist. I don't complain. It was very nice, interesting life, but I managed to get also nice experience from writing 2 books. 2 books will be mentioned in my biography. There will be no third one. 2 books, that's all. And the second book, To the Thinking of Birds, which I am presenting now, it has been published in English and subsequently in Ukrainian. Yeah, and here is Ukrainian publication. So I regard this book as actually as the most significant hit of my life. Why? It appeared spontaneously. I did not have the slightest just attention, slightest intention to write. I'm sorry, Mrs. Veronica, could you give me my time schedule, so how many minutes I have, etc. Okay?
Скільки хвилин ми
So just by fingers, yeah. How many minutes left?
Скільки хвилин має на доповідь Олег
Yeah.
Олександрович?
So once in the morning, I remember all of a sudden a sentence came to my mind. The sentence was as follows: motivation is the slave of the firefly of emotions. And I don't know why I wrote this sentence into my small diary. I used to have a diary which is really very irregular and really very small, but I wrote down this sentence. And it so happened that after that, during next 3 years of my life, every day of this life was starting with about half an hour when I was in a special mental state and I was writing down whatever was coming to my mind during this half an hour. For 3 years, almost day in day, just 3 years. And as a result, the book came up. So I had no plan, no intention to write a book. It was just, everything was absolutely spontaneous. So for me, myself, it was extremely interesting because it was as if it's not me who is writing this book, but it is something inside me, or somebody inside me. And finally, all of a sudden, came the
Інтернету.
I didn't know even how to evaluate. I had the book, so now cannot make a synopsis of it. Although I wrote this, I finished the book more than 20 years ago, 22 years ago. But I was not in a hurry to publish or whatever. And I had a very good example of Sir Charles Darwin, who invented the origin of species, wrote the book, and the book was just laying in his table for 16 years or so. And then he published it only because he found out that his colleague Wallace has come to the same idea, and so if he won't publish his book, he will lose the priority. So I waited even more than Sir Charles, but finally the book is just available for the people who read, in fact, in English and in Greek. What is this book about? The book is about the book is trying to explore why the human being comes to this world and lives his or her life. How come? So the complete title of the book is To the Singing of Birds, a private journey to myself. And this is it. I thought along more than 20 years how to add this just private journey to myself, although To the Singing of Birds came very still before I finished the book. So it took me time. I will allow the people to know themselves better than before I leave. And this better, I have a hope this better will become significant. So the people will appear to themselves more, in fact, clever. I'm sorry, maybe I am too brave, but my experience with those who have read the book already, my experience just demonstrates that I am, it is not crazy. I'm really just on this side of the common people's seconds. The main discoveries of this book, very schematic, very schematic. First discovery, the brain, there is a wall in the brain here. Everyone has this wall. And what happens from this side of the wall and what happens from the other side? From this side of the wall, we live our conscious social life. My name is Oleg, and Oleg lives his life, in which he considers what happens with him with the word my language, whatever language else I may know. What happens from the other side of the wall? From the other side of the wall is sitting the major part of my brain, and this major part of my brain is dealing with its information in another language, not human language, which we know, but it deals in meta language. Now I understand, by the way, why I was waiting for so long. I was waiting for this 22 years to wait for something which I didn't expect, but I could expect it subconsciously. We can come to the period in the development of humanity when the humanity is looking for meta events. So even Facebook now is called Meta, as you know. And now the people are thinking about meta universe, etc., etc. So meta language, I'm proud to say, I invented it. I found it more than two decades ago. And I am, so to say, proud with that, yes. So one discovery was the wall and the different, so to say, languages operated in the brain from either side of the wall. I do not have time to specify, but I describe the presence of windows in the wall. And each person has its own special just set of windows in the wall, as special as, let us say, fingerprints. And second discovery is as follows. Meta language, does it belong only to this computer which is inside, or we deal using meta language in some way? And the answer is positive. Yes, we deal with meta language. Moreover, meta language is with us and is operational during all the time of the development of humanity. And what is, in fact, what is so to say, what is a really meta language in our life? And the answer is extremely simple. The answer is as follows. In our life, meta language, this is the language of art. Because using language of art, we are able to share among us something which we cannot share using usual language. This is, we share our feelings. So meta language is used for sharing and the shared feelings, the humanity can become really united. But usual language is not sufficient for that. So we cannot tell each other in plain words of language what does Mona Lisa mean to us. Mona Lisa means to us something which is unspoken. And this unspoken is, so to say, the essence which is in the art, and generally which is the essence of our life. So in short words, this is my book. So this is what my book is about. Thank you.
Liels paldies! Jā, liels paldies profesoram! Un es vēl gribēju pateikt, ka šis ziedu kompozīts. Thank you, Professor.
Good afternoon. I am honored to read the reviews of Oleg Krishtal's book, To the Singing of Birds. The book did arrive, and I'm reading it with great pleasure. You're a thinking man, of which there are very few. Some parts are a bit Kafkaesque, and I mean this is a great compliment, as Kafka for me is the greatest literary genius of the 20th century. Some chapters are simply brilliant. For example, I know where the devil is hiding. I'm continuing the reading slowly in order not to miss anything. Thinking of Birds is a wonderful gift. So many original perspectives, very entertaining too. But with such deep thoughts and much mystery, I will return to many of these from time to time to refresh my thinking and try to penetrate deeper into something that cannot easily be grasped, but which you nevertheless magically have opened an intriguing path to. The review was written by Professor Ole Petersen, commander of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire. The next review was written by me, a student of Taras Shevchenko National University of Kyiv. I have repeatedly asked myself the question, why do books of genius people become bestsellers many years after publication, and sometimes centuries later? In my opinion, Oleg Krishtal's book To the Singing of Birds is exactly like that. After reading the book, I realized that it will not become popular immediately, in 10, 15, and even 30 years after publication. Why? Let's remember the works of genius writers who did not gain worldwide popularity immediately. A great example is the novel The Great Gatsby by the now famous writer Francis Scott Fitzgerald. Contemporaries did not consider him a talented, successful author. They became interested in Fitzgerald's work only during the Second World War. Let us also mention Franz Kafka. Today he is a genius, but Metamorphosis did not arouse due interest in his contemporaries. The same goes for the author of the Renaissance Dante Alighieri. His The Divine Comedy gained popularity centuries after its publication. I'm sure that To the Singing of Birds is that type of book. This book needs time, and I'm talking not about a week, not about a month, and not about a year right now. Over time, To the Singing of Birds will become not just a bestseller, but a classic, an eternal classic for all times, for all nations. Thank you. Paldies.
Paldies!
Paldies.
Jā. Paldies! Un,
Зараз, пані та панове, мені дуже приємно було отримати таку пропозицію від пана Олега долучитися до такого небуденного вишуканого проєкту. Знаєте, коли народжується дитина, то в метричних свідоцтвах пишуть, де вона народилася, пишуть, коли вона народилася, більш-менш точно пишуть, від кого вона народилася, але не пишуть, навіщо вона народилася. Я переконаний в тому, що людина народжується для того, щоб виконати Боже домашнє завдання, реалізувати свої можливості, свої цінності. Ну і, як кажуть, не в тому її місія, щоб перенести свою душу на небеса, а хоча б маленький шматочок небес перенести собі в душу. Я намагався не схибити і сподіваюся, що вам сподобається наша робота. Як кажуть англійці, don't deal with the critic eye, just pass our imperfection by. Недостатком нашего творения, надеюсь, мудрый явит снисхождение. Дякую за увагу.
Це Дмитро Чекалкін, відомий шоумен, дипломат, перекладач, і ця людина озвучила «Вікно Моцарта» твір Олега Кришталя.
Jā, tātad grāmata ir ierunāta audio grāmata 6 stundu garumā, kur arī noskanējot tātad šo te QR kodu, jūs varēsiet klausīties. Un mums ir vēl kāds video sveiciens, kuru mēs tūlīt parādīsim.
Позвольте, я прокоментую.
Здається,
Да-да-да, мы слушаем.
The
Hello.
Mozart's window, which was mentioned by Dmitro Chikalkin now, is the afterword to the book, which was written 20 years later. But it is an attempt to make a synopsis of this book. So this is now it is included into the Ukrainian edition, which is suggested today. Thank you. Okay.
Saorganizēsies tuvākajā laikā, un tad daļa no grāmatām arī tiks dāvināta bibliotekām, un būs arī grāmatas nopērkams pie mums grāmatnīcā Jānis Roze, un visi ieņēmumi par šīm grāmatām tiks ziedoti Ukrainas palīdzības fondā. Tā kā tas arī ir tāds labdarības projekts, kuru arī atbalsta profesors. Nu, un tad visiem, protams, ir iespēja noskanēt QR kodu un klausīties šo grāmatu. Nu, diemžēl, bet ukraiņu valodā šobrīd.
Ну, дуже хотілося б надати слово пану Юрію і пану Олегу, але я не знаю, чи технічно це можливо. Чи в нас чує пан Юрій?
Так, я вас чую.
Дозвольте вам надати, будь ласка, слово.
А з чим, скажіть, будь ласка?
Підсумки, враження, побажання.
Ну, власне кажучи, я на самому початку я вже я вже сказав те, що власне хотів сказати. Головна думка це те, що такі ініціативи вони важливі для України. Важливо те, що в Латвії це ще одна цеглинка в ту стіну підтримки, яку Латвія нам демонструє. Ну і сподіваюся, що ця книжка знайде свого читача, що принаймні, так як я сказав на початку, що принаймні 3 рази стільки, щоб, як запланували, щоб ще був попит і щоб книжок не вистачило. Це моє побажання.
Дякуємо вам, дякуємо, пане Юрію.